Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today I'm going to do a Dungeon Master review of the 5 out of 5 star movie Never Let Go, starring Halle Berry, Anthony Jenkins, and I think the other, it's a child actor. I think his last name is Dags. But this was an extremely good film. And it is definitely worth discussing from a narrative perspective about, if we squeeze this film, what kind of narrative juice can we get to build stronger Dungeons and Dragons seasons and stronger Dungeons and Dragons episodes at our table. All right, let's jump right in. Okay. So, first of all, spoilers for Never Let Go. So this was a horror film. I'm not sure who did this horror film, but I saw it specifically because I saw the trailer and I absolutely understood what the concept was, and it starred Halle Berry. I'm a huge fan of Halle Berry. I really enjoyed her in the role of Storm. I enjoyed her in the James Bond films. I thought she was really excellent in that. I really enjoyed her in John Wick 3. She was fantastic. She's just a super talented actress, and I really dig her stuff, and that was more enough for me to go see this film. So this was a horror film with a very tight focus. And so let's describe that focus. So what was the focus? So the concept is that, okay, so it's an apocalypse film, right? So the world is over, okay? And a lot of apocalypse films have the same structure now. And we should talk about this. So, The Walking Dead really changed horror forever. The Walking Dead was a success at the level no other horror project had ever been a success as. 12 seasons of The Walking Dead. 8 seasons of Fear the Walking Dead. 3 seasons of another spinoff. 1 season of another spinoff. 1 more season of another spinoff. Like, it succeeded at a level that simply was unprecedented in any way or structure. It just absolutely blew the doors off of anything else that had ever been done in horror. So this movie is zombie twist, right? So essentially you can't go out because you'll be eaten by something bad, right? Now, what's the zombie in this movie? It's not a traditional zombie. It is the evil. It is the darkness, right? So now for a Christian, this is very easy to understand. Like for us, it would be demons, right? Like they're going to trick your mind. They can choose to be seen when they want to be seen. They can take different forms. Every single power shown in this movie is completely exhibited by biblically accurate demons. So basically, the structure of this film is it's a zombie apocalypse, but it's not zombies, it's demons, okay? And if you go outside of your house and you are not tethered to the house by a rope that is tied to the foundation of this wooden house, then the demons can access you, and then they can possess you, and then they can make you kill the rest of your family, right? So there's 3 acts to this movie. The first act is just, here's the structure. The second act, and the structure is mother, 2 sons, okay? And we know the mother has already killed everyone in the family except her 2 sons. Killed her husband, killed her grandfather. Her father was gone, like just not existent. And guess what? These 2 boys' dads are gone. This is a new Hollywood thing. It's a Hollywood trope, dads, and it's not just a Hollywood trope. It's kind of for realsies now, right? Like I think we've fully reached a point where most children don't have fathers at home. I think it's pretty rare for the nuclear. What's wild is we've reached a point where the traditional family is no longer traditional, right? Mom loves father, mom and father love children. Pretty rare, like and rarely lasts very long at all, right? It's just it's kind of ludicrous to call that a traditional family at this point because it's outrageously rare. It's extremely rare, right? Right. Now, as a society, we've gone further past this, and now there are LGBTQ parents who parent children, right? And so there are children with two parents, but that old model is extremely old, extremely rare, and becomes more rare every day, right? And that is reflected in this film, that like this is, and I actually think that is the traditional family today, is one parent caring for children and one parent has walked away. It's extremely common, right? Like it's not considered unusual in any way anymore. I don't think, right? Like you could tell me if you think I'm wrong there. All right. So so Halle Berry, she is the head of the household and she has two sons, okay? And she's raised them to understand these rules. She's like, if you leave this house and you are not tethered and you are not tied to a rope, right? And actually, as long as you tie the rope to yourself, you don't even have to hold it, right? But if it's not tied to you, you cannot let go of the rope. And so that's where the term "never let go" means, right? So if you let go of the rope, you die, right? And well, actually, no, it's not that simple. I'm sorry, that's not correct. If you let go of the rope, demon gets inside you, and the movie never calls it a demon, but by every metric, this is a evangelical Christian demon, right? Fits completely biblical accurate. Not a single power shown in the film would not be had by a completely evangelical Christian demon, right? Okay, so replace zombies with evangelical Christian demon structure, okay? All right, now, Halle Berry teaches her two sons, you always are roped, right? And then you can go as far as you want as long as the rope remains around you. Now, the problem now is they don't have they got to get all their food. They can't just go to a store, right? And so that means they have to go out, they eat frogs, they eat bugs, they eat worms, they eat everything they can grow in their garden. But their subsistence is really extremely difficult in the winter. It's not that bad in the rest of the year because there's so many living creatures that they can get their sustenance. But they have to live through every winter, and every winter it's getting harder. And they've done this at least 2 or 3 winters, right? So where this goes, so that's the structure. That's episode 1, right? There's 3 episodes in the movie. Episode 2 in the movie is the two sons, the two brothers, right? Samuel and Nolan. All right, there's Mom, there's Samuel, and there's Nolan. Okay, and Samuel and Nolan, they love each other as and then they have a dog named Coda. Okay, so in the second act is actually called "How Will I Feed the Children?" Right, so they get into a bad winter, and now there's a lot of strain on them. And Samuel is like, you know what? I think Mom's full of crap. I don't think there is an evil. We never see it. She sees it. We don't get to see it, right? So what's the dealio, right? And so he begins to doubt his mother. And Nolan is like, no. You need to listen clearly. Mom knows what she's talking about. If we break any of these rules, we're all gonna die, right? So finally, they eat everything from the winter, right? And the mother's like, hey, we ain't got, and they start eating bark. They start eating bark from trees, right? But this is trees, right? Like they're literally eating wood, right? At this point. And she's putting a little honey on it to make it, but one of the sons is like, man, we're eating wood. Come on, like this is bad. So the mom's like, yeah, this is bad, but that's okay. Our dog Coda, we're gonna eat him. Samuel loses his mind. He is like, Samuel, that's the wrong way to say that. Let me back it up. Samuel gets fraught. Right? He is very upset, and he's like, we're not eating the dog, right? Like, he's like, I'd rather die. That ain't gonna happen. So finally, Halle Berry, the mom, takes the dog into the garden shed, which is completely empty of any food now, and she goes to shoot the dog. And Samuel comes out the house and goes, nope. You are not seeing real things. The evil is not real, and I'm going to prove it to you. And he cuts her rope. Okay, so he cuts her rope, and then she is in the she's in the shed. And by the way, at this point, we the people who are watching the movie, we don't get to know if she's a reliable narrator. That's the entire point of this film. is Halle Berry, the mom, a reliable narrator or not, right? And we don't get to know until the third act, and I will tell you how that ends. Okay, so third act, we reach a point where, and actually, so Samuel cuts the line, and then Halle Berry, the mom, sees her evil mother with like a demon tongue, right? And that demon is like, oh hey, I'm about to jump in you, and then I'm gonna have you go kill the children, right? And she's like, nope. And she takes a piece of glass from the garden shed, because it's like a greenhouse, right? And she cuts her own throat, kills herself, right? So then at this point, the two boys are alone, right? And the one boy feels terrible because he's 100% responsible for the death of his mother, right? But they still don't know if it's real. But they're so shocked and so terrified by the death of their mother that they immediately return to their faith, okay? And faith in these tethered ropes. And they literally say a prayer to the house, right? They say, blessed abode that shelters the pure and good, right? And then there's a little bit more to it, but they return to their faith, and they're tying their ropes, and they're doing everything good, right? Well, finally, and they're wondering, they're like, oh my gosh, is the evil going to come for us, right? And their mom's body is literally just rotting in the shed, right? So finally, so the two of them, and then they start fighting, right? And then finally, so a man comes out of the woods, and he's dressed just like a regular backpacker, right? And he's like, oh, hey, what's going on here, you two? I got some food in my pack. Do you want the food? And the other brother comes out and is like, you need to get, right? Like, he comes out, and actually he doesn't even say you need to get. He comes out with the crossbow loaded, right? Loaded for bear. And he's like, you stepped in the wrong place. And he shoots the guy right through the stomach. Guy runs off, dies in the forest. Samuel goes with his rope and gets his pack, and they finally get something to eat, right? And this is a clue to us, right, that the world is not filled with evil, right? Because the mom was saying there is no one else. But right before she died, she did say, hey, I lied to you. I brought the evil here to this house, right? And, and I'm sorry, so I'm responsible for all this. But they know that she, but that's the only thing. She's just saying that she was responsible for bringing the evil to the house, right? And she's always saying, I was a different person in her past. So now the two of them, so now Nolan has killed this backpacker. Then that night, Nolan is waiting up. Yes, so Nolan, who killed the backpacker, he wakes up, and the backpacker's daughter comes, right? And she's like, do you know where my dad is? And he's like, no. And then she runs off in the woods, and he runs after her, right? And then finally, in order to chase her, she goes beyond the limit of the rope, and he lets go. He unties the rope and goes out. She's totally a demon, comes back, demon touches him, and then sends him right back to the house to kill his brother, right? So then also, I forgot this part, but no, Halle Berry actually gives them a Polaroid with one picture, right? And she says, this will show the reality, like this will capture things that even the person who's taking the picture sometimes doesn't see, right? And so at that point, Nolan burns the house to the ground with his brother Samuel in it. And his brother Samuel gets into the cellar right where the actual ropes are tied to the foundation itself, and the house protects him from burning to death, right? But the house completely burns, and that attracts a helicopter, okay? That helicopter comes, and both Nolan and Samuel are rescued, right? And while they're being rescued, that we see that they're flying over the world, right, which is very open, but we finally get to a town, and the town has cars going along, and you're like, oh, wait, the mom was wrong. It was all in her head, right? And they could have went out all along. But then finally, they show on the ground the Polaroid picture that Nolan took as the house burned with his brother Samuel in it. And what was really interesting was that Nolan, who has been touched by the demon and has the demon in him, the picture actually shows the demon's hand, right? And so it's an objective piece of evidence that shows us, oh yeah, the evil is quite real, and Nolan is a demon now, and so essentially, but there are people in the world, but these demons are killing people in the world, and the mother was completely right, and in these cities, these demons are going to be even more, power, and where they're going, Samuel and Nolan is already turned, and so the only question is if Samuel will be turned, right? And so excellent film. Halle Berry was a reliable narrator. Demons are quite real, and Nolan has been. And the mom is dead. Nolan is turned into a demon. Samuel is still alive and is still good, right? Still a regular, good human, right? So then the question becomes, what is our takeaway from Dungeons and Dragons? Well, let's talk about the spiritual aspects of this. So what is the value of Dungeons and Dragons as a spiritual mirror, right? So here we go. Okay. So Dungeons and Dragons has an incredibly high value as a spiritual source of information. And Dungeons and Dragons' preeminent declaration on the spiritual plane is that it is a supernatural world. So whenever we're trying to learn about religion, that's the core question. Do you believe in a supernatural world, or do you believe the world is completely natural and there is nothing beyond nature, right? Dungeons and Dragons has a strong, clear statement on this. It's a supernatural world. Every realm has a pantheon. Every single Dungeons and Dragons VE realm has a pantheon. It is a supernatural world. Every single D&D realm, cleric spells work and are powered by their divine supernatural deity. Period. End of sentence. So then the question then though is Dungeons and Dragons, this is the part that Dungeons and Dragons doesn't get, and it's the same part that that Never Let Go gets wrong. It's the idea that if you're good, your deity gives you power. This is completely wrong. God does not protect good people. God protects anyone who asks for protection and believes that they need protection. Anyone who genuinely believes they need protection and then asks for protection. That's it, right? And so that's the part that both Never Let Me Go gets wrong, and that's the part that D&D gets wrong. It is always like, oh, are you faithful to your deity? Then your deity will give you something. That is absolutely not correct. You simply ask your deity, please protect me, and you believe that that deity can protect you, and then it works. So excellent film. Definitely every Dungeon Master content, in my humble opinion. Every single word you just heard is my humble opinion. The important part is when I hear yours. When you get in the comments and send your traffic. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a fetch millennium.